All right, good evening, good evening, good evening, Southside everywhere, family and Southside family and friends. Okay, it is 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on a Monday night, and it is time for the MMR, the Monday Message Recall. This is the opportunity we take to recap the sermon that was delivered on yesterday or this past Sunday at the Southside Church of Christ, Durham, North Carolina, 800 Elmira Avenue. And you know what it was on yesterday. It was homecoming weekend. It was homecoming Sunday. And you know, we had a dynamic time in the Lord on yesterday. We was worshiping and praising. We had a dynamic message by brother BB Gaston. And you know, it's been 4 days straight of, as we say, kicking it for Jesus. We was having a great time. We had a real movie night, Reels Fellowship movie night. We had that both in person and online for those that joined us as well. So we had a great time with that. And then on Friday Night Live, and what we learned is that the old adage is too, we know the songs, but we don't know the lyrics. We play, we played that game, and we realized a lot of people, y'all dedicated, but the words, but we know the meaning. We know the meaning. So we had that. All right. And then we had Grits and Grace at It's a Southern Thing on Saturday morning. Great turnout there. We know that some of y'all are really in, all in, all the way. And then also we had Bless the Block, where we got to interact and hang out with a lot of friends and family. And some of y'all letting us know that you're watching it, watching the MMR and hanging out and saying hello and saying, hey, I may not comment, but we still there in the midst. So it's good to just fellowship, interact with the community. We had students from NC Central up in there coming in. It's like, hey, what is this? And we explained and broke it down. They's like, who's throwing this? We like the Church of Christ here, Southside Church of Christ is throwing this for the community. And they're like, oh, this is cool. So hopefully now that they know that we're there, they could come through and be with us even more. So it was just a great time all the way around. So y'all know the rules. I'm John Merriweather, your online minister. You know the rules. Go get the NIMS. Go get your mama them, your daddy them, your cousin them, your auntie them, your uncle them, your friends them, all the NIMS to come be a part of this conversation on this evening. All right, we got so many people up in here. We got brother Henry up in here. Good to see him. Got my sister up in here. Good to see her. Sister Nakia Pratt is with us as well. And then we got brother Gavin. Brother Gavin, good to see you, brother. Good to see you. It was nice to meet you in person as well. All right, family, and I'm joined here tonight by my wife.
All right, my name is Denise Merriweather. I am the campus director of Southside Everywhere. Okay, listen, here's what I need y'all to do. I need y'all to go out there and get your crib notes. If you took notes, I know the spirit was so high, and maybe you didn't take good copious notes like you normally do, but I'm telling you right now, you're going to need them. So go ahead and pull it out. Go ahead and get your scripture. For those of you who got the title and the topic that joined us online, y'all got to support the people that was there in person, because we don't have crib notes. We was there live and in person. All right, Sister Graham is up in here. Brother Gavin, make sure you say hello to Sister Carla as well. And then I also got the name nailed down for Sister Katrina. She told me she'd be watching. Every time I see her, I'm like, you look like somebody I know. I'm going to figure this out, where I met you for the first time, because it wasn't in Southside, but I got you locked and loaded in my mental. Okay, Sister Katrina, so happy that you're out there as well. All right, hopefully you had enough time to get the scripture. John 16, 9 through 14 is where Christy. Hey, Christy, we didn't have a meeting today. Oh, first I want to say thank you to our amazing team, Southside Everywhere, for all the hard work that you all did to get us ready. To the homecoming team, I was a part of the homecoming team. Thank you to all of you guys who worked those tireless nights. We still got one more event to go, and we're celebrating all month long. So every Sunday at the Southside Church of Christ, there will be a guest minister. This week we'll have one. I believe Brother Beard will be there with us. So make sure you tune in, you come by, you join us. Atmosphere is still going to be a high praise, and you don't want to miss it. All right, so we also had Southside Everywhere mugs. If you didn't grab your mug or your t-shirt or your button, we're going to need y'all to lock in. What happened? We're going to need y'all to lock in. We're celebrating. So the store will be open. I'll drop links for that. But if you're interested in a t-shirt, a mug, or a button, just put what you're interested in the chat, and I reach out to you and make sure you get that. Shirts are $20, mugs are $15. If you get a shirt and a mug, you get them both for $30, and buttons are $4. All right, so hopefully that has given you some time to find the scripture, John 16, 9 through 14. John, are you ready?
I think it's John 15. I think it's John 15.
Okay,
but,
all right.
That's why I'm gonna roll with John 15. If I'm wrong, we get it right. I see Sister Graham put 15 up in there, so we're gonna roll with 15.
Okay, sorry about that, y'all. I'll change it.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Hey, you can never get enough script. You can never get enough script. So we know there's probably a blessing over there at 16. So I'm going to have to look at 16 after this to see what it is, because there's probably a hidden blessing over there for us. So we might need to go check that out. But look, we're going to do John 15 verses 9 through verse 14, I believe it is. And I thank Brother Gasser for not having that long, lengthy pericope to drop on us on tonight, because my throat is still a little bit hoarse from all the shouting and praising and singing. Look, I'm out of shape. We singing so much, I'm out of shape, but we good. We good. So John 15 verse 9, and it says, as the Father loved me, I also have loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, and you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. These things I have spoken to you, that my joy may remain in you, and that your joy may be full. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I loved you. Greater love has no one than this, than to lay down one's life for his friends. You are my friends, and if you do you are my friends if you do what I command you.
All right, y'all got the script. Y'all got the script. John 15, 9 through 14. All in, always rejoicing. All in, always rejoicing. All in. For those of you who are still all in, put it inside the chat. Hashtag all in. For those of you who repped your all in shirt all weekend long, when I tell you game on at the Southside Church of Christ, we were super duper committed. And I didn't even think to rock my shirt. I purchased my shirt, but we didn't get there in time to wear it on Friday night. And on Saturday, we had our Southside Everywhere shirts on. But the next time we go live, I'm going to be all in. I'm going to be all in with everybody else. And we got both colors. We got the black and we got the blue. So one week, I'm going to rock the blue. And then the next week, I'm going to rock the black. All right, John. So how did he start off this conversation on yesterday?
Yeah, Brother Gaston started off the conversation congratulating the Southside Church of Christ on 43 years. And when we look at 43 years, we know that 43 years is nothing to sneeze at. 43 years is a blessing. 43 years is one generation started on the next generation. Come on, we were seeing that as we were looking at the consistency of the choral ensemble, looking at all the new faces and the youth infusion that we have in the choral ensemble, and also seeing how we legacy members, I was going to say the older members, the seasoned members, but the legacy members are still there, and we're working hand in hand with the youth and with the youth infusion to make sure that it's still one sound, one Lord, one faith, right? But we're looking at that. He's like, we had to take a moment to pause and look back, because 43 years, I was there since 1998. So y'all could go ahead and add that up and try to figure out the age there. But y'all, it's been a little minute since there. But look, sometimes time moves so quickly that you don't get to appreciate the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows, the accomplishments, and sometimes the setbacks, but the growth that has occurred over the 43 years. We have to sit back and just sit in this moment to let it simmer and pause and look back at the history of the Southside Church of Christ, looking back from the first tent meeting to the back to the gospel campaign, and to Brother Stevens coming here and setting forth, establishing the congregation, and how now Brother Thomas is leading the congregation, and the vision that he has, and the passion, and the heights that he is reaching for, and striving to bring in even more connection with the community. We have to pause and stay united and stay and celebrate that. And he said it's only in times of celebration that we can reflect, because if you don't reflect, then you cannot joyfully celebrate. And he's like, we have to remember that even though it's in reflection, which is the key, that we learn not to despise small beginnings. Southside began with about 12 or 13 members, and now look at it, it's over 600 strong in the congregation. But we have to look at the seed of the 12. And that might preach right there, because when you think about the number 12, you think about the 12 apostles, you think about the 12 tribes of Israel, you think of the divine number of governance and government that God sets up. And so you look at how that has expanded, how that has grown over these 43 years. But what we also have to understand is that in that pause, in that gap, in that simmering, in that reflection, it helps you for difficult moments, because let's face it, it has not always been sunshine and rainbows. It has not always been easy. There's been some trials. There's been some struggles. There's been some tests. There's been some turmoil. There's been I already said trials, but there's been some moments where the testing and the tension, there we go, as Brother Thomas says, the tension in the text, but the tension in the growth has been there. And so when you have those moments of tension, it's in that time where you have to go back and draw out that joy, draw out that that internal peace that only God can provide. And it's in that time where you can look back and see that the hand of the Lord is upon you. And when the hand of the Lord is upon you, it brings back that stability, and it brings back that comfort to let you know we're doing a good work. And like Nehemiah says, I can't come down. And so we have to be all in. But what Brother Gaston said is that the all in means that you're always rejoicing. But how can you rejoice when you're going through times of difficulty? How can you rejoice when you're going through times of struggle? How can you rejoice when you're being tested, when you're being tried? And he says that that testing, or the joy that comes from testing, is a divine gift. And it's not happiness, because we know happiness is determined on happenings, and depending on what's happening in your life may determine if you're happy or sad. You know, somebody said, let's stay together whether times are good or bad, happy or sad. That's what joy is. Joy is not depending on what is happening. Joy is determined by your dedication to the commitment of being all in. And remember that joy is internal and happiness is external. So that's how he started the conversation and wanted us to have our mindset realizing that we're focusing on joy, because this month is all about rejoicing. And when we're rejoicing, we have to remember that read means to start again or to draw out again. And so you can't start again if you ain't got nothing to start with in the first place. So let's make sure that we have some joy so that we can have joy once more and again as we move forward through this month.
All right, put inside the chat, everything that is happening for me. Everything that's happening is happening for me. I say this a lot because it helps me deal with the happenings, right? I think the last, maybe a broadcast ago, I was talking about how, as we have been preparing with the hotel for Pastor Appreciation, and if you have not got your tickets yet for Pastor Appreciation, I need you to lock in and go all in. Go ahead. Time is ticking. The deadline is the 15th. And here's the thing. We ain't gonna be able to give no additional people after that without additional charges. So don't wait till the last minute. Go ahead if you haven't register tonight. But as I was asking for something from the hotel, and I gotta know we ain't gonna be able to do that. I typed in the actual email to the hotel that everything that is happening for me. So you may not want to give me this, but I know that is working out. All right, John, where did he go from there?
So what he wanted us to understand is that joy only comes from being in the consistent presence of Jesus. He's like, even in times of difficulty, that's when we need the presence of Jesus, even then, so that we can stay anchored, so that we can stay rooted, so that we don't get carried away with the tides and the flows and the waves of trials and tribulations, because we know that nothing can change our attitude, nothing can change our emotions, nothing can change our state like trials and tribulations. We can be happy, we can be praising, we can be like, yeah, Malcolm, sing that. We can sing all the songs that we were singing on yesterday. I was trying to remember them all, but I'm still a little bit tired, so I can't pull them up the way I want to pull them up. But, we say that we sought the Lord and he heard us, and we can sing all that. But then on Monday morning, when we get that first trial, we forget all the Jesus and we want to go back, take it to the street. We want people to catch a fade on Monday morning. So we got to remember that in the trial and the tribulations, that we got to stay rooted. We got to stay anchored. Like they used to sing, my soul is anchored in the Lord. And we got to make sure that it's in the abiding of God and in the abiding of Christ and in the presence of Christ that we can have joy despite what is happening in our lives. And so that's why this chapter is so much teaching, Jesus teaching his disciples. He's like, you need to abide in me. What does that mean? You got to stay connected, because without the connection, you cannot get the flow of this divine blessing of joy in our life. And a lot of times what happens is when we lose our joy, it's because we lost connection. If we stay connected to Jesus, then it don't matter how much joy is flowing. It can be a little bit of joy, but a little bit of joy can be enough to turn you around and keep you in the right path, in the right mindset. As the song says, I still have joy. I still have joy after all the things I've been through. I know some of you have been through a lot. Some of you have been through a lot even on today. Some of you have been through a lot even this past week. You had plans to be there. Something went awry in the Greenbrier and you fell apart and you had to shift your plans. But guess what? After all the things you've been through, I know some of you got some unexpected pink slips. Some of you got some unexpected health diagnosis. Some of you had some unexpected relationship issues. But guess what? You can still have joy, because joy is the steady anchor in times of difficulty. And he said he wanted us to understand this. Sometimes joy does not cause you to shout. Joy allows you to remain steady. Now I'm going to let that simmer. I'm going to let you simmer, because sometimes we think joy's got to make us jump up, make us clap, make us stomp our feet, make us run around the house, make us run around the church building. But sometimes joy is what just keeps you steady in the storm. It keeps you from flying off the rails. It keeps you from going ahead and losing your faith. It keeps you from saying those words that don't align with your walk. It keeps you from having a mindset of the get back and the lick back and the payback. And I'm going to go ahead, since you did this, I'm going to do that. It keeps you from the spirit of retaliation. Joy is what keeps us aligned. And we remember that joy is on the inside and it shows up on the outside. It shows up as peace. It shows up as love. It shows up as dedication. It keeps you, shows up as consistency. And we understand that joy doesn't stop when we lose that thing that is close to us. We lose that thing that makes us happy. Joy is an anchor, and joy comes from the Lord, and understanding that the Lord is not only present, but the Lord is also holding on to me. Joy is something that shows up from being abiding in the Lord. And he says the fruit of the Spirit, and this is what he pointed out. He said, when you look at the fruit of the Spirit, he says, the fruit of the Spirit, he says, it starts off with love, but then it quickly says joy. It says, if we got the love of the Lord in our hearts, if we got the love and we're displaying that to one another, then joy will flow. Joy will happen. Joy happens because of the connectivity to Christ, but also the connectivity to our brothers and sisters. And that's why it's so dangerous when we get a mindset of saying, I don't need to go and be among the saints. I could do this by myself. Even in a virtual format, we understand that we're still connecting with our brothers and sisters. Why? Because connection is necessary, because there is a level of joy that we will receive in connection and knowing that we're not in this thing by ourselves. And when we lose our joy is when we don't abide in Christ, when we try to figure out and say, I'm going to do it my way. When we say the Lord's way is taking too long, the Lord's way ain't giving me the results that I want, it seems like when we try to take it on to self-solve, we end up self-sabotaging. Come on, somebody. You get the wrong double S's. We get the self-sabotage, and we realize that we step back. And when we step back, that's just like we talked today in the morning sip. We talked about, like Brother Gaston said, that we got to let patience have her perfect work. He's like, count it all joy when we fall into diverse temptations, and knowing that patience will have her perfect work. We got to understand that in the trial is not a time to give up. In the trial is a time to be patient, because we got to still what he's like, we can have patience. Why? Because we counted it all joy, because joy reminds us of the things that God is doing and what God has done. It reminds us of the capability of the Lord to deliver us once more. And again, we know that if he did it before, he could do it again. And it's like, hey, sometimes God is just spinning the block, and he's coming back and bring another blessing our way. But if we go ahead and disrupt the work of patience, then what we do is we prolong the trial or the test, because God is not going to move forward if we don't have the lesson. Because if he don't have the lesson, we can't hold on to the blessing that he's going to deliver the next time he shows up around the block. And so that's why the children of Israel had to stay in the wilderness for 40 years. Why? Because they didn't get the lesson. And the lesson was how to operate and how to act and how to stay in covenant relationship when they received the blessing of the promise of Abraham to enter into the land and enter in and be increased beyond the number of the stars that were in the sky. Sometimes we got to go through that trial so we know how to act when we receive the blessing of the Lord.
All right, y'all. So right there, what I got from that right there is it takes effort and it takes time. Don't be trying to get out the pressure cooker too fast. It's like those collard greens. I was talking to somebody about cooking, and right before I left the house, I made collard greens. Y'all know I cooked my smoked turkey an hour before I even put my collard greens in, right? So if I tried to rush the process, it wouldn't taste like the way my mama collard greens taste if I was trying to do it all in one swoop. No, it takes an hour just to get the meat to where it needs to be, to season the water and to almost be off the bone. So when I put the greens in there and I cook them for another hour and a half to 2 hours, the meat falling out the bone, I can take all the bones out. I can do all the things, and it had its proper time to be able to come out the way that I wanted to come out, to taste the way that I wanted to taste. And it's the same way when God is testing us, perfecting us, taking us through some things, allowing some things to fall off of us that he doesn't want to be on us. But if you try to jump out of the fiery furnace, you're going to put yourself in a bad situation. You may jump out the fire pan into the fire, and the fire consume you a lot quicker than if you just stay inside of the pot, inside of the vessel, inside of the trial, inside of the test, and allow patience to have her perfect work so you can come out looking like new money. Okay? That's all I'm saying. All right, John. So how did he end it off? Hey, Sister Ito, it was just such a pleasure to see you on yesterday. Thank you so much for the encouragement of the words shared with you in the past. I'm just so happy that things are improving. Continue prayers for you and your family. Same thing for Brother Jerido. Sister Jerido, hey, how you doing? Next time we in town, we swinging by on our way out. Make sure we'll be able to lay our eyes on you. We love you, and continue prayers for you, Sister Henderson. I didn't get my hug yesterday. I don't even understand. I don't even remember seeing you the weekend, but I know normally we're in the same place, but we sit on different sides. All right, John. So before we go, that's my hellos for the people that I missed. And again, if you have not registered, register. All right. So look, John, how did Brother BB Gaston end it off for us on yesterday?
How he ended it off was he wanted us to remember that we cannot beautify this Christian walk. We cannot beautify discipleship. And what I mean by beautify is, yes, it is a beautiful walk. And yes, it is a glorious walk, and it is the best calling that you can be a part of. But we have to stop pretending like it's not going to be filled with tests and trials. And he says sometimes what we do is we try to sugarcoat it and say, hey, everything's going to be all right. And yeah, everything's going to be all right, but everything's not that happens is not going to be all right. There's going to be some messed up stuff that happens, right? There's going to be some difficulties that happens, right? But we have to understand, just because it's not easy doesn't mean that it's not worth it. Because he pointed to the example of Jesus Christ and realizing that, yes, Jesus had some struggles. Jesus had some struggles in the Garden of Gethsemane. He prayed 3 times to let this cup pass for him. He was constantly being reassured because he knew the traumatic and the pain that he was going to have to endure on the cross. But look, here's the thing, that even though he had to go to the cross and he had to face the cross, but he did it because in Hebrews 12, he said, God set before him the joy of the cross, meaning that there was a payoff. There was something on the inside of him that was going to be glorified, that was going to bring a joy that could bring emotional dedication inside of him, because he was going to finish the task that his father set before him. And that was the whole thing. He's like, I do the commands of my father. And that's where his joy was coming from. His joy was coming from because he was connected to the will of God. And because of fulfilling that joy, he was able to face the difficulty of the cross. What are you saying, Brother Meriwether? Sometimes we got to remember, and just like he said in the text, he's like, you are my friends and you are my disciples if you keep my commandments. We got to remember that there is a joy that comes from being in alignment with the will of Christ, which is in alignment with the will of God. And that when we fulfill that whatever we go through, whatever we face on his behalf, we understand that it's going to be a spiritual blessing by completing that. And that joy of staying in the will, joy of knowing that Satan could not rip us out of the hand of the Lord, the joy of knowing that our love of Christ led us to renewed and strengthened faith, and that joy comes from that. And then the wisdom that we get from the trial can be able to be a blessing to somebody else that's going through difficult moments and testing as well. And so we have to remember that all of us are going to go through some messy situations. And the brother said, we have to remember, he's like, just like a baby will go ahead and they'll mess up, and they need somebody that is seasoned, that knows how to clean them up and get them back on the right path. And sometimes what we have to remember is that we just need somebody to help clean us up when we get into that messy situation, so that we can keep moving, because joy is what keeps us moving. And since we have joy in the beginning, we can have the opportunity to rejoice, to rekindle, to reboil up that excitement, that enthusiasm that we had once in the beginning. And that will keep us moving forward and moving towards the calling in Christ. So he says, now is the time for us in the church to rise up and trust God, because we know we in some messed up situations right now. We're in some testing situations right now, but trouble doesn't last always, and neither do the people that stir up trouble in our life. So we just have to endure, as Paul says, because if we endure, then we can reach the finishing of our race and be able to rejoice once more again, because God is the one that brought us through the trial and the tribulation.
All right, y'all. That's the message from the Southside Church of Christ on yesterday. Homecoming Sunday, located 800 Elmira Avenue, Durham, North Carolina. Hey, you could beat us there. We didn't see you there. If we didn't see you there this week, you could beat us there and be there all month and meet us there again at the end of the month, because we'll be there in person at the end of the month at the Southside Church of Christ located in Durham. Or you can join us right here on Facebook or YouTube at the Southside Church of Christ Durham, Sundays at 9:30 a.m. on Wednesday, 7 o'clock p.m. Same location for midweek Bible study. And if you are on social media, you can join Southside everywhere. You could go to www.southsideew.com. That's www.southsideew.com. It'll take you straight to our community on the Facebook page. And look, I dropped the link a couple of times for those of you who want to come to Pastor Appreciation but have not got your tickets yet. I don't want you waiting too much longer. Go ahead, lock it in. Deadline is on the 15th, and we ain't going to be able to do nothing after that. That's all I'm saying. We ain't going to be able to do nothing after that. So make sure you go ahead and purchase your tickets now All right, so y'all know what time it is for us. It's time for us to grab something to eat. We'll meet you here again every Monday, 7 o'clock p.m. for the MMR, also known the Monday Message Recall. We love you guys. We'll see you soon. Have a good night.